Welcome back to the Baseline. As always, here on the Baseline Banter, I am your host, Colton Wilson. We have Travis Wilson of Bound, and we have Coach Chris Smith, head coach for the Hartford Boys basketball team. Fellas, how are we doing? It's Sunday night. Trav said we're not going to go into it, so we're not going to go into it. But how are we feeling outside of football season ending? Don't know, hop in at once. Don't.
We're coming off a really tough loss on Friday night, so that was my weekend trying to put the pieces back together a little bit and understand a little bit more about what went wrong and some things that went right as well. So the basketball season is a very long season, and we don't have much time to kind of dwell on that because we got to get ready for another game on Monday night against a really good Port Washington team. So I'm already through that.
You don't have any time to dwell on it. You got, is it Port Washington Monday and Homestead Thursday or Homestead Friday?
Homestead Friday, yeah. So I woke up on Saturday morning early and opened up my laptop and started watching film on Port Washington and started putting a game plan together because we were off all day Saturday because of the 7-day rule. And then because we had practiced right before I hopped on here and we weren't able to go in our own high school tonight either for practice. We had to go to a visiting middle school and have practice there for a couple hours. So it was a little weird, and having a game plan and go through scouting report and stuff like just randomly. And then, we're about as ready as we can be though, on a quick turnaround, but sometimes that's okay. It's a good thing, right? When you have a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth and you can just move forward, and I'll deal with it in March when I look back on the season and look at things that way too, because, we still have a long ways to go in the season.
I was going to say, coming off a loss like that, having that quick turnaround, it's fresh in the kids' minds, so they get to just put that attention and that energy elsewhere pretty quickly, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing either, and did a couple things within our staff to help our guys kind of move forward as quickly as possible and start thinking about Port Washington and the possibilities that are in front of us, possibilities and opportunities that are in front of us this next week.
Trav, how was your week last week? How have you been since we last saw you?
Good. The Reedsburg varsity split a couple games, lost to Edgewood, got a nice win over Portage. My son, that's a freshman, had a couple nice games on the lower levels, so was excited about that, and excited about some events coming up. Just to tease a little bit, which Colton doesn't do a very good job of.
I am so bad at this.
What we're going to talk about today, the Midwest Players Classic coming up this weekend. Really excited to get to that event Saturday, maybe a game or two on Friday night, depending on when I get up there, up in La Crosse. And then the following week on Saturday, the 24th, is the Deer District Prep Showcase. Really excited to get that event going this year again, second time that we're running that. So some really good basketball events coming up, some really good basketball period, as we talked about before, really, humming along in the conference season. A lot of teams are starting to flip over to that second time playing teams in the conference schedule or getting close to getting through at one time. So excited about that. Some other things that we're going to talk about today on the Baseline Banter. We're going to talk about some of the players that kind of inspired us or that we kind of idolized as we were growing up. Talk about inbounds plays. I think that'll be a fun conversation, and just kind of Colton and Chris will do a great job going through working with kids and how do you coach them to learn from and correct their mistakes and errors and kind of what goes into that process. So excited to get the conversation going.
Yeah, thanks, Trav. I really do. Chris, you had mentioned this, that I need to put a script together. You're right. And I don't need to put it on the screen. I need to print it off and put it in front of me is what needs to happen. Because also, what I forgot to say is we are presented by our presenting partner, Bound, boundwisconsin.com. Head there for your basketball information on the boys and girls side, your scores, your stat leaders, your schedules. We have a power index. We have media poll rankings. Great content comes out weekly. So head over to boundwisconsin.com.
A couple things on Bound, Colton. As I've said before, if you have not kind of clicked around there and really dug into the tools that are available, I highly encourage you to do it. That power index piece alone is really, really interesting, and there's some really cool information and stats that you can see on there. Just looking at kind of the way the rankings are, right? I think that power index, which is an ELO ranking, which is, it's not a true like win-loss formula. It's actually developed out of a chess ranking, but I think it does a pretty good job of kind of evaluating teams. At least it has so far, and gets better and better as more games get played. The leaders page is really cool as well. You can sort stat leaders for both individual and team. You can sort it by conference, region of the state, division, grade level, sectional. If you want to find the top games, the individual top game, you can sort by best game as well. If you want to see the best scoring performances from your team, you can sort that as well. So really a lot of great information there. And I'll tease a little bit too. We're on the verge of announcing some really cool partnerships for spring sports as we start to kind of turn our attention there. Obviously not a focus of the baseline banter necessarily, but we have some really cool things that we're working on for spring sports as well at Bound.
Coach, you can attest to this or not, but I think my favorite thing, strictly from not being a Bound employee and someone that works there and being someone that has a very biased, obviously, opinion about it, but I am obsessed with the app. I go in that thing constantly on game nights. I'm in there constantly looking at scoring leaders. Everything is just at your fingertips. It's something that when we were at WSN was clamored for forever. So having an ESPN almost style app on your phone for high school basketball has been something that I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, it's something that's really nice. There are a lot of things that I utilize it for within our team, right? I mean, we all know my thoughts and opinions on huddle and some statistics, so it's nice to have something that is reliable to kind of check with it once in a while, right? I'm kind of a crazy person when it comes to statistics and everything like that, so being able to see something like that on my computer screen when I just and have it all be in one place is really great. Like I can be working on my computer and have the app up on my phone. It's really nice. So the navigation piece is something that I found really nice during the football season when I'm trying to follow our football team around and seeing what's going on throughout the state. It was really good. And I didn't hear anything. I heard nothing but positives from Coach Redders during the football season about what they're doing with it and how easy it is to implement stats. And if you know Coach Redders at Hartford, he's been there forever, and he's not necessarily the biggest technology guy. So when he says it's super easy to use Bound, I'm going to take his word for it 100%.
Unpaid ad, we did not force Chris to say that.
No, you definitely. I don't get paid a darn thing.
Yeah, you're right. I did put him on the spot. That was a little rude of me. As far as myself, last week was a pretty good week. My group, we went to Lancaster. We talked about this, Trav, in our family group chat, but we had a group of three-man do the JV and varsity game. My JV team fouled a lot, and deservedly so, got called for a lot of fouls. I think we ended up winning by 6. My JV group, we committed 30 fouls. We probably had 30 turnovers, and we still came away in a game by a 6.
That's lower level basketball, man.
Yeah,
I was just going to say the same thing, man. Like you just never know.
It's wild. But then, that same group, they reffed our varsity game, and between the two, 78 fouls called. It was a long night. It was a long, long night. I think I got home finally at 11:35 on Thursday night. So it was a long night. Varsity, that Lancaster group's really talented. Until that point, they were undefeated. They fell to Mineral Point on Saturday, but they were down 5 at half. We went down 21 in the second half, battled it back to 6, and just exuded all that energy getting it back to that point that we just couldn't get over the hump. So other than that, did head down to Iowa State. My wife's brother got us tickets for the Iowa State basketball game on Saturday, and I'd been to Hilton before, I think back in 2011 or 2010 as a college student. Didn't remember much about it. That place is sweet. Have either of you two been there, seen it, know any of the layout of that place?
I've only been there for a graduation, a college graduation. I've not been there for a basketball game.
Yeah, it's an
I've only
older.
been in the area. I haven't
It's
been. I've been like in the downtown area and everything, and it's cool. I like that area for sure, but I haven't been anything on campus.
it's
Coach
an
Smith,
older.
you'll love the other time that I was at Iowa State was when I was in college and I went to the George Strait Country Music Festival at the football stadium. So that was my
That's
only other
great.
Iowa State experience.
Nothing wrong with a little George Strait in your life.
So Hilton has a field house, right? So it's way smaller than Camp Randall. What they have is they have their outer rotunda.
Try it
You go
again.
rotunda. You go into the doors and there's a walkway all the way around both levels where there's kind of standing room. There's a ledge there. The acoustics are great, and man, when I tell you that in comparison to a Wisconsin basketball game I've been to in a while, Iowa State was rocking, and then getting to see Milan just ball out. Pewaukee grad Milan Momcilovic. I think he ended with 20, but he had a stretch where he had 14 of their final 16 going into half when they just couldn't score the ball. Always fun. That Cyclone team is loaded with Wisconsin kids on the roster and staff too. So, yeah, that was my weekend.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty fun one to be honest. And yeah, man, you hit it right on the head, man, with the amount of Wisconsin talent on that Iowa State team and kids that are going to be still coming, moving forward here in the future. Just wish our local universities could maybe do something about that. But hey, that's a whole another conversation that we could have maybe later.
Let's get into a couple of those points that Trav had talked and previewed a little bit. Inbound play, Trav. Why don't you take the reins on this? What were you had it? You marked it down in our talking points. What were you looking to get?
Yeah, I'm just curious for you guys and anybody that is watching would love to hear feedback on X or on social as well. How many inbounds plays do you have? Maybe let's start there. And how often do you change them up? Is that something that you change during the season a number of times, add one here or there, opponent specific? Colton, what do you guys have and what do you do as far as changing them around?
So specifically at my lower level, we have 4 all out of the same formation. We run them all out of a box. We have one that counters another, so obviously you're getting the same exact look, but you're getting it from a different look. We have one that's just specifically against the zone, and then a couple others that are just quick hitters. In the past, I've put in 6 or 7 where I've had 4 where it's just your 4 straight across that are low down on the block and played out of that. This year I'm doing it a little differently, but we will likely get in a couple more before the season's over. But at the lower level, try to keep it a little simple, stupid until you can gauge exactly what those kids can handle. So yeah, Coach Smith, what about you?
That's those are some questions that I don't know. I mean for us, I'll just say we have enough.
He doesn't want to give out his scout at all.
So
I thought this was baseline banner.
So we have no. So okay. So I will say this, right? So we have a handful out of a couple different formations. And we actually have about 4 or 5 that can be ran the same essentially out of different formations and looks.
Yeah.
We also have a number of out of bounds plays that we will run against certain teams because of the certain way they play defense on baseline out of bounds, and not just necessarily like zone or man, but the way that they play man to man baseline out of bounds. We'll put in a couple different things here and there, and then again with some of the baseline out of bounds plays that we have, there will be little wrinkles that we will change from opponent to opponent as well, just simply because we think we can get it if it looks this way compared to what it normally looks like. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, throughout an entire season, I think it depends on the year, to be honest with you. I've had in my 5 years now as the head coach, we've had years where we've had about 10 to 12 just for man to man. We've also had years where we've had 4 or 5 for the entire year and they don't change. I think it does depend on your personnel a little bit once in a while, and also some of the opponents that you play, and then and then for teams that zone, we don't see a lot of zone baseline out of bounds in particular, but we definitely have some of those in our back pocket as well.
In stops that you've been in the past, or even just scouting your own teams, what do you think is an average number of out of bounds plays that a team has? Like, is it 4? Is it 8? Is it 15? Like, what would be a rough estimate of an average, do you think?
From what I've seen on film, at least with our opponents this year, it's been 5 to 8. I would put it somewhere in that ballpark as far as baseline out of bounds specifically.
Yeah, I would say somewhere in that 7 to 8 range. You're pretty solid that way. I mean, I know when we go through film, and we scout teams, we're going through and like we'll tally what how many times each one of those baseline out of bounds plays get played. Like if they run a baseline out of bounds play one time in 7 games, we're like, well, is that one even worth putting it in? Why did they run it that one time? And usually you can figure out why they ran it that one time because it's a situation type thing. But yeah, I would say like on average about 7 that we
Coach,
go
I
through.
have a quick question before Trav probably hops into another one.
Sure.
If, let's say you go run a blob, tipped out of bounds, you got to run a blob again. If that happens 2 or 3 times, are you running the same play just to not give a scout for 2 or 3 different ones? Or are you looking at running 3 different blobs in that instance?
So our goal is to score as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
In baseline out of bounds, like you're literally, the ball's being inbounded like 2 feet from the basket. Yeah. That is one of your best opportunities to score, right? So that's why we change like we don't have hardly any years where we have the exact same baseline out of bounds plays. So we change those a lot. And we'll even just change little things here and there throughout the season just to kind of keep teams on their heels a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I don't have, like, you still gotta stop it. So like, I don't have any issues with calling 3 different ones. Sometimes we'll call the same one back to back. Even in an instance like that, you're saying just because, and I'll just like I'll make one little adjustment. It's usually a word to a kid that's on the floor and they know exactly what I mean. And that's the adjustment in the same play.
Yep.
That was another piece I was going to ask. Like if it's something that you change up from year to year, or, or if it's pretty static. And this is maybe one that you don't want to answer, Chris, and that's fine. I'll give some insight since apparently I'm the only one that isn't coaching and can share stuff. How do you signal them in? That's always something that's been as interesting to me as any other piece to it, because I've been around programs that have done it a lot of different ways. It seems like the most common way is the coach yells something out, right? They yell out whatever it is. A lot of times it's the formation, right? 4 low and then a number or a word or something like that, but some kind of designation on a formation. I've been in programs that I thought did it a little more creatively, and maybe it's more common than I think. But one of the things I did when I was a coach at UW Richland, instead of yelling it out and telling everybody in the gym exactly what we were going to be running, it was a hand signal that I kept below my waist.
I'll find it.
It wasn't something I yelled out. Or, what was that?
I said I'll figure out what it is. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's fine. If you're doing it. It's less obvious, I guess. And that was also back before huddle and everything else. But the kids just knew. Ball goes out of bounds. We look over at coach. We figure it out, and it's not something that we, it's a big deal. So that was one of the things that I don't see a lot of. I guess again, I think it's usually more yelled out or something. The other thing I like doing is, as you talked about, a counter, right, of some kind. So having a play called box and having another set just like that we would call box again. So we run box later in the game. Hey, run box again, right? It's basically a box 2 or whatever, a line 2, whatever, without, I guess, as giving it away, right? The again is the signal for something different, but it sounds more organic where it sounds like the same play that you've already run. So those are a couple ways that I have seen to run different things and to do it differently. I throw it at you guys if you want to offer any other insight in terms of how you signal, or also how often you change maybe a play name or a signal or whatever. If you want to answer, go ahead. If not, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for us, a lot of things that we do, like we will script a couple, like 2 to 3 based on out of bounds plays that the kids know. Like, here's what we're running. First one here, second one. Like, we might have a couple of those scripted early on, and then they from there, to be honest, unless it's like crunch time and they're like something specific I see, our guys huddle up and call based on out of bounds plays on their own. Because I trust that those guys are seeing things on the floor and they know where their mismatches are. They know what the defense is doing better than we do sometimes when in the flow of a game, right? So our guys, as long as officials, are allowing it to happen for a split second for the guys to huddle up quick, call something, go. We're very adamant about not putting numbers or saying things out loud. Just because if anybody's like I am, when it comes to watching film, like I don't just watch the game, I watch coaches. I have my headset on and I have volume turned up louder than I'm willing to admit, so that I can hear things. And, so we try to keep those things away, just with the ability for everybody to get every film possible now with volume, and audio, like, but I like my kids to be able to call some of that stuff on their own and have a piece to it,
Do you have somebody on the floor that's designated as the person that takes responsibility for that, or
No.
is it organic?
It's organic. Yeah, it's definitely organic. It's something that, I mean, this guy over here might be like, hey, listen, like, whoever this guy who's guarding me is doing this and they're overplaying this way, like we're gonna hit him with this little back door and I'm gonna veer off it. Like sometimes they'll call a play and they'll start running and I'm like, what are you doing? Like that's nothing that we have in, and then all of a sudden you see why, So I don't care. Like they understand that the goal is to score every baseline out of bounds. So when they have an opportunity to take advantage of something, I trust that they're gonna do that.
Yeah. Trav, I think you had mentioned the whole nonverbal thing. I've gone to the nonverbal the last couple of years. Does it always? It makes kids look over, right? Which is always, you want that engagement from the kids to. It's always been a stressor for me, especially early on in the year, where kids are so invested into maybe a reaction to the play that led to the baseline out of bounds that they aren't then ready to get set or get that play call in. So having the nonverbal to where they then have to actually look over has been something that I've implemented.
Yeah,
I mean, I know this was coming. Are you sure they can see your little hobbit hands?
Piss off. Piss off.
I've been a part of staffs too, where like hand signals are bringing plays in, and there'll be two coaches on the bench giving different signals, and or two different coaches saying two different things, and the players obviously are the only ones who know it.
It was,
yeah.
This
So
kind of ties into when I was at the Iowa State game. Otzelberger's, how do you say his name? Coach TJ Otzelberger?
TJ sounds good.
TJ, his lead assistant sits in that very first chair closest to half court, and every possession of Oklahoma State, he was staring at him, waiting for him to say something, and he was sprinting past half court, arms wide, yelling at the guys. Like this was, my wife was like, "What is he doing?" I'm like, "He is calling out every single play and where they need to switch and everything before the point guard gets across half court."
Yeah, if we ever, I love that, by the way. Like that's one of my favorite things. So if we ever have Coach Ladrin from Beaver Dam on here, he can attest to this, that I was very adamant about making sure I knew everything about every team when it came to sets and baseline out of bounds and all that stuff. And I was that guy that would constantly get yelled at by officials for standing up as an assistant because I was screaming play calls and what was happening. And now that I'm head coach and I'm standing, I'm jumping up and down and screaming things out before they even start to run things. And I think I do irritate other coaching staffs at times, because before they can call something out, sometimes I see the alignment and start screaming things out. And but that's part of it, and that's why part of why I love coaching too is the preparation and knowing everything about your opponent to the best of your abilities, and just giving us that chance of stopping stuff.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk more at some point about just in general how coaches or what you guys do for tracking results as well, and efficiencies of certain sets, formations, out of bounds plays, personnel groups, that kind of stuff. That's something that we can add to our list for a future discussion, maybe. One of the things that I thought was interesting, and I'm trying to remember, this was when I was in college. I was a student assistant at Mount Mercy College down in Iowa, and I can't remember if it was out of bounds plays or defense or offense. It's murky, but the call was based on the score. So if the score ended in a odd number, it was this thing. It might have been defense. If the score ended in an odd number, we were in zone. If the score ended in man-to-man, ended in a even number, we were in man-to-man, or whatever it was. There was something with the score to try to have some, it wasn't a static thing, and it was just something the kids knew, but it wasn't something that, was easily scoutable, perhaps. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting as well.
It's putting a lot of trust in your guys to know the difference between odd and even numbers sometimes, I guess.
That is true.
Well, let's hop into kind of a review of last week. Like always, last week really had some really, really good conference games across the whole state. Tuesday was our day of weather, right? That a lot of games were pushed back. Even Thursday, I don't think the schedule was affected on Thursday, but we drove through 2 inches of rain. We got 2 inches of rain over here. We drove through it on the way to Lancaster. On the way back, we get a phone call from one of the parents that there's a boulder in the middle of the road on the hill. So had to watch out for that. I think by the time we got there, it had been moved though, because all we saw was a couple remnants. So again, weather's been a storyline early on, but so have the conference games. But outside of that, we also had some really big performances. We had those 1,000-point scores, and we had a couple kids that earned some scholarship offers. Coach, if you wouldn't mind diving into those guys.
Yeah, starting with the college offers. Mari Herford of Beloit Memorial, okay, and Zeke Jones, both offered by UW Green Bay. Zeke Jones also just recently, within the last week too, got an offer from Wyoming. I can say with just some experience playing against the Hereford kid from Beloit Memorial, that kid is lightning quick.
Yeah.
He is an incredible point guard. And being left-handed too, like that's an advantage at the high school level. I don't care what anybody says. Like, it is a big advantage to being a left-handed quick guard at the high school level. He is really tough to guard, because he's got good size to him as well. And then his ability to start shooting the ball a little bit better in the last year and a half or so has really kind of started to pique, obviously, Division I interest. So that's pretty crazy. And good for these kids, like UW Green Bay starting to play a little bit better basketball too. So
yeah,
getting some good athletes in there like these guys, hopefully will continue the growth and development of that program.
I think there's absolutely and understandably some questions, right, about Doug Gottlieb coming in as a head coach there, and they struggled the first bit. It was tough, and to his credit, as you said, they've got it turned in a good direction so far this year. We'll see. Hopefully, it'll continue. But they already beat UW Milwaukee, right, just last week or a couple weeks ago, and are looking pretty good. So big credit to him to get that program going in the right direction. He's stepped away from some of his media responsibilities to focus a little bit more on that job. So, I think you were both at the clinic when he spoke, or Colton, were you not there that year?
I don't think I was there that year.
Not this past year.
I don't remember seeing him.
Yeah. I was really impressed though. I mean, obviously he's played basketball forever. He's talked about basketball forever. I was impressed with the demonstrations he did at the clinic. And again, good to see them get it turned around.
He's just such a large personality, right? And I think he's a lot for people to get used to. And obviously being where he is, in the spotlight for his entire career, not just as like a media spokesperson and stuff, but as a basketball player too, right? Like, I think there was a learning curve for both of himself as a coach, and then also the people that are surrounded by all that, and even fans, right? To understand like what he's trying to do. But I think, like you said, Travis, he's doing a really good job of turning that thing around. And the better basketball gets at the next level in Wisconsin can only help keeping more and more kids from Wisconsin in Wisconsin. So we have the chance to see these kids past high school too.
Yeah, he's already got, two? I think he's got 2 commits from the 26 class. He's got the Grutzmacher kid from Brookfield Central, and then the Kloski kid from Tosa West. And I think he's got another handful or more of offers out there to kids in the 27 class as well. So
it was interesting because when he was a commentator, I never felt like he liked Wisconsin very much. Like I thought he was kind of negative on Wisconsin a lot of times. There's probably some tweets back on my timeline of some things about Doug Gottlieb that are.
You don't tweet that much though, so I don't know.
Yeah. I never post anything anywhere controversial, so it's fine.
Moving forward, we had a couple 50-point outbursts. We had Caden Schultz, Plymouth. Everybody knows that he can really score it. He had 57 and 5 on 17 of 29 shooting, hitting 7 3-point baskets in an 80-67 win over West Bend East. Everybody knows that kid can really fill it up. He's super talented, great offensive player. That doesn't surprise me that he has a 50-point game. And then Anthony Brooks of Cudahy with 54, 6 and 5 and 9 steals in a 110-78 win over Random Lake. And I'll say this about Anthony Brooks. So I've played Cudahy the last couple of years in non-conference games, and our guys will tell you that Anthony Brooks is as quick as anybody out there. That kid, standing only at 5'10", that kid can get by you with one quick move. Unfortunately they haven't had a ton of talent lately in Cudahy, but they're doing a little bit better this year, and they're a lot more competitive. They just won their first conference game in over 1,000 days against, what was it? It was against South Milwaukee. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. That kid is talented, right? So, being 22 of 30 from the field, not only talented, but efficient, right? Both guys going off for 50 and shooting high percentage is something that you definitely want to see, because a lot of times you might see like, oh, he had 50 points, but he shot 30, 45 times in the game, which we've seen sometimes in some city games every once in a while. But, congrats to those guys. Those are big time performances.
Yeah, 2023 was their last conference win, so it's been a while for the Packers on the boys' side.
For sure.
One game that stuck out, Coach, we were actually texting during it.
We
won't
were.
go into what we were texting about is a conversation for a whole episode that we can get into. But Milwaukee Luther and Madison Memorial played a quadruple double on was it Wednesday, right? And boy, oh boy, it turned into be just nonstop lead changes, everything. Just
a crazy game. Like 4 overtimes in a high school game is a lot. I mean, there's guys falling out left and right, obviously. They had to go deep into benches. That's kind of like a coach's nightmare when you might not be the most deep team in the world, right? Where you could lose a game in the third overtime simply because like you just don't have any guys left, right? And just how fitting of an ending for that game. I had his name before, I can't remember right now.
KJ Crosse.
Yes, the lefty with a little runner at the end, nothing but the bottom of the net from like 25 feet. That's just crazy, man. Like with only 4 seconds, 3.5 seconds, takes off, takes a few dribbles, gets across half court and heaves it, and it goes in. But like, if you were watching that game at all, that's fully what you expected.
Yeah. I mean,
at the end.
Memorial gave up late leads in both the third and fourth overtimes.
Mm-hmm.
And in the third overtime, the Liggins kid he hit a three, a
Yep.
pull up that didn't look like it had
Was
any
tough.
business going in, and
Yeah.
it nothing but net to force the fourth overtime. So that was a fun one.
I mean, inappropriate that Madison Memorial was involved in that, given that they played a 3 overtime game. That's one of the best, most exciting games in state tournament history. It was a long time ago, back in 2011, when they played in that championship game against De Pere, winning in 3 overtimes. So a little bit of deja vu for Coach Collins.
Yeah.
You should have seen Coach Collins' hair was standing straight up at the end of that game. Because you know how he always is, like he's always like, going through, and he's always doing that stuff with his hair when he gets upset about stuff. And so like his hair was standing straight up at the end of that one.
Coach, why don't you touch on the newest members of the 1,000 Point Club that we got this past week on the boys' side?
Yeah, we have 7 of them. Run through them here. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing anything wrong, but we got Brody Schaefer out of Winneconne, Jake Bresky from Lemira, Brennan Hackbarth from Sheboygan Lutheran, Logan Ramchek of Xavier, who is also a junior, and Zeke Jones from Dominican, who's also a junior, Chase Cook from New Berlin West, who is also a junior, and then another junior, Delvito Velasquez from Messmer.
Yeah.
So, having 7 guys this week is a lot, right? So guys just keep scoring and scoring, which is awesome. But it also shows the longevity of their success. So happy for those guys.
Yeah, that's kind of our boys review. We're gonna hop right over to the girls' side. Trav, what do we see in the girls' basketball this week across the state?
Yeah, we'll start with some of those scoring landmarks. Evelyn Albrecht from Poinette, a junior, hit 1,000 points. Auburn Clark, a junior from Rhinelander, hit 1,000 points as well. Amira Taylor from Golda Meir, 1,000 points she hit, and also has 1,000 rebounds. You don't see that very often. So, a big shout out to her. Colton, I can't remember what you were asking me about, if it was rebounds or assists. Somebody was recently asking me about the state record book.
Coach Merg was.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. The only state records that are kept for the WBCA as far as individual stats are scoring. So we have great records for top single game, single season career performances in scoring for boys and girls, but unfortunately do not have much for some of those other stats. But someday, sometime, hopefully somebody can work on something like that and compile, assists and rebound records for career and single game and that kind of stuff. And then
Chris will tell you to do it tomorrow.
Yeah. Leonore Dean from Shawano went over 2,000 career points, and she became the 46th player in state history to hit that number. Natalie Cuso from Arrowhead reached that number earlier this year. There's a couple other players that are really close to that number. Not Butler, sorry. The Butler girl from Argyle Pecatonica is really, really close. And then one of the Ketterhagen girl from Oostburg, I think they're both within 100 points. So we could be talking about them hitting that 2,000 point mark coming up very soon as well. In terms of other action last week, Pius, number 1 team in Division II, entering the holiday break. They lost one over the break to Milwaukee Academy of Science on a last-second three-pointer. Stayed number 1 in the media poll, but they've now lost 3 in a row. They lost to Kettle Moraine Lutheran, they lost to Pewaukee, and then that game over break against Milwaukee Academy of Science. So a hot start for Pius, but they've dropped 3 in a row against a really good schedule. Now,
no slouches in competition.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier. Looking at their upcoming schedule, they have a really tough schedule coming up. We'll talk about at least one of those games in our preview for this coming week. But as we've seen on the girls' side, I mean, those top teams go out and play each other a lot. So you're going to take some losses, and you're also going to have some really good games. And it was a big week for Appleton East. They were 4-0 last week, and all 4 were really good victories. They beat a very, very good Laconia team, who is one of those teams that challenges themselves year in and year out, week in and week out. They beat Fondy. They beat a very good Appleton North team. And then on Saturday, they beat a very good Eau Claire Memorial team. So 4-0 for Appleton East. They dropped their first game of the year, but have gone, I don't know if it's 12 wins in a row since that time, including a win over Kimberly that we talked about earlier this year. So the Patriots are looking really good. And again, one of the stories of last week.
That Eau Claire Memorial team, I think they were coming off a win over Rice Lake too. So yeah, that was a good squad. Looking at, we mentioned this last week, the unbeatens, right? I think in boys we had 23, girls we had 16, and I think if I'm remembering right, I literally had said, well, let's see if next week we have 16 in boys. We're down to 16. 7 unbeatens fell this past week in boys. Girls, we're down to 12. So that number will keep dwindling. I'm really interested to see, in a couple weeks where that number's at. But I think even some of these squads play each other here coming up. So,
Right. When I think like a lot of it comes down to like you're really getting into the heart of the conference season, and
yeah.
Some of these teams, like, they know everything about the other team, right? So like, you kind of get to the points where it's like anybody can win. It doesn't really matter how good you are, or how great your season, or how bad your season might be going. Like, teams really well, and you have some talent, right? Like, and you have the ability to go out and shock somebody. So conference games are a crazy thing, and then especially you sprinkle in a couple rivalries here and there too.
Yeah,
especially on the boys' side, where the talent and the competition is a little bit closer.
Yep.
We see it every year that the team that's 4th or 5th in the conference beats the team that's at the top of the league, or ends up winning the conference, and maybe that's their only loss. So it absolutely can happen, especially like you said, conference game, rivalry games, road games, late January games, all those kinds of things. That number will dwindle down from 16 even further.
Yeah, let's hop into our weekly stat sheet stuffer. We mentioned him a little earlier in the podcast. Henry Grutzmacher from Brookfield Central, UW Green Bay. Do they go by UW? I think they just want Green Bay. They don't want the UW in front, right? So just a Green Bay commit, senior big man, lefty, crafty. He filled it up. I mean, it was a 98-47 win over Hale, so it's one of those games where you kind of get into your bag a little bit, so to speak. But he, from his post position, he had 18 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists, and then added 3 blocks for good measure. So he is our boys' stat sheet stuffer.
On the girls' side, Delaney Winkleman from Living Word Lutheran, they had a tough week with some really good competition. They got a win early in the week, 79-58 over a pretty good Columbus squad. She knocked down 9 3-pointers, which is tied for the state lead so far this year, scoring 30 points, had 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals in that victory, as Living Word Lutheran is off to a good start. So Delaney Winkleman, a big performance.
That's going to do it for our review for this first segment. Make sure you stick around and pay attention. We got an interview with Midwest Players Classic director and Aquinas. I say it like my father would, so apologies for the mispronunciation. But head coach Brad Reinhart here. So stick around for that great interview, and we'll be back on the other side with a little bit of preview coming up, and then jump into a couple more topics. All right, welcome in. We have head coach for the Aquinas. Trav's going to make fun of the way I say that. Boys basketball head coach, Brad Reinhart. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time out of your night to sit here, talk shop, and then talk about the upcoming event we have this upcoming Friday and Saturday.
Absolutely. Happy to be here, and really appreciate it for sure. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. On top of being a coach, Brad also runs and is the director of the Midwest Players Classic in lacrosse that comes up this Friday and Saturday at the Lacrosse Center. Coach, have you been the director for all 16 years of this event?
So originally, Rick Schneider was our head coach. So when this thing started, he was the man in charge, and I was kind of behind the scenes helping out and doing whatever needed to be done to make it go. And then through that transition, as he stepped down a few years in, then it kind of fell into my lap, and kind of took it and ran with it, and really was a part of the growth and expansion of the event from 6 games to what it is today at 2 days and 15 games. So kind of has become a passion and a hobby of mine to follow teams, follow players, stay in the know, and kind of piece this thing together.
Yeah, I think this interview is going to be a bit of a twofold. We get to interview you. We get to talk about the event obviously coming up and your involvement with that and just everything that's gone into the growth of it and into the event just itself this year. And then we're just gonna talk shop about hoops and the Blugolds. So
Sounds great.
I think we'll hop into the event first. 16th year. We have games Friday starting at 1, Saturday they start at 9. If you could just talk about how it's grown into one of the top events in the state, and then, in my opinion, the premier event, especially on the west side of the state.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of things going for us in terms of why the event's taken off and why the event's been successful. I think location is huge, right? Where La Crosse sits, it's a great crossroads between, some of those teams from the Minnesota Twin Cities area, some of those Iowa teams that we've had come over. It's a great spot for them to meet in the middle and kind of, they can square off against a team from the Fox Cities or a team from Milwaukee without having, to do all of the whole travel bit. They can all kind of still make it a day trip or one night or whatever. So I think that's been huge. I think our venue with having the La Crosse Center, a former CBA arena that's been fully renovated. I think that's done us well. And they've been a great partner. And then the Cooley region just kind of supports it. The business community, the basketball community, the quality of the basketball that we've seen expand over here on the west side of the state over the course of the event's run. I think all of those things have been very positive influences in our ability to take it from 6 games to 15 games over the 2 days.
Now, was that a goal of yours to, take it from just a handful of games to be able to really make it into this kind of immaculate event that it's become?
It was a slow growth. Like we, started to eventually, fill one day, and then it was, how many can we realistically make happen, and then can we get into the daytime on Friday? And so over the years, it's kind of been a slow growth, but I think it kind of stems from the amount of interest we have from teams that want to get into it. We're to the point now where we've got teams reaching out to us, 15 months in advance, asking if we've got openings for the following year. And it's always hard to tell teams no, right? If they're quality, if we think we can get them a good matchup, there's a lot of ways to put together good basketball games. And so if we've got the venue, we've got all the infrastructure in place, why not leverage it to the max and let as many people participate and get that experience that we're trying to deliver, for their kids. I think that's the biggest thing, right? We exist to deliver a great experience to the student athletes.
Coach, you've had some incredible teams and talent and individual players at the event over the years. If you could just kind of run down some of those top players that have been able to participate in this event, some of the top performances that you have seen, and just a little bit of that history of the games themselves.
Yeah. It's been special. I think we're at like 14 guys that we've seen go on to play in the NBA. So, I mean, you're talking guys like, Sam Hauser and Matt Thomas, good Wisconsin guys. You had, a great run where you saw Johnny Davis square off with, Jalen Suggs and Chet Holmgren. So, you got lottery picks all over the floor in a game like that. So that was a ton of fun. Just pretty awesome. So just to kind of see those guys and let the Cooley region fans kind of experience that. But, just some of the other high-end talent have actually been some of the top performers that we've seen. Like Brad Davison that played for the Badgers came in and lit the place on fire for like 39, and everything he threw up went in, and he was playing all emotionally, and it was really fun to watch. And just some really special performances that we've seen out of some kids over the years for sure.
Now you've done a good job of, you have teams from, it's mostly Wisconsin teams, but outside of that, you've got quite a few Minnesota teams that come in, and I think this year one Iowa team, correct?
Yeah. This year Decora's coming over to represent Iowa this year. I try to get one a year. It doesn't always work out that it happens, but try to get at least one Iowa team in a year. This year Decora's got Rafe LaFrence's kid that played for in the league and played for Kansas. His son Kale is a senior and pretty highly recruited. kid from Iowa. His recruitment's been pretty quiet, but he's like ranked number 5 in the state for his class, and big kid and whatnot. So with them being nearby, I've been working on it for a couple of years to try to get them over here and get them matched up with somebody. And finally this year it worked out.
I'll be there Friday. Trav will be there Saturday for the event. We actually play Decorah 2 Saturdays from that. So Trav, you're going to have to give me a scout. You're going to have to put that scout
Convenience. Absolutely.
Now, Coach, looking at it, you've got 15 total games. You do have one girls game. And I think, have you had the one girls game every year?
Not every year. I think that came in probably within the last 6 or 7 years, maybe. Mixed in a 6, 7. The high school kids will be happy about that. Got those high school listeners. Get a good laugh. But no, that was kind of a partnership with our Aquinas girls program and the quality and the run that they had with some of the players they had. It was kind of a natural fit and a good partnership to have them kind of help with the event and get to experience the arena environment. And, I like to say, playing in a venue like that helps you prepare for your state tournament run. And should you get to the Cole Center or the Resch Center, being able to play in that arena environment is a good frame of reference for those kids. And so that was an addition that we made, handful less than 10, more than 5 years ago, somewhere in there.
Has there been any talks possibly of expanding just the girls' side, getting a couple more girls' games into the event?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, myself and my familiarity, I'm not super well versed in who those teams would be and brokering those games. Like, my network doesn't really expand, super far on the girls' side of things. Certainly open to the idea of that, but it would probably take a more active role from somebody with a little bit more knowledge and input and connectivity on that side of things to be able to help expand and grow that side of it, or maybe even look at a subsequent weekend where the arena can keep the floor down and build in a day or something like that as well.
Coach, I have to imagine one of your biggest fears around this event is something that unfortunately you've had to deal with several times, and that is weather potentially causing impacts on teams able to travel and being able to make it. There's been a few years you've had to cancel a number of games. So
yeah,
how long ago did you start looking at the weather forecast, and what does it look like for this weekend?
So I don't look at the weather forecast intentionally because it's so far out of my control. And, so if I start seeing cancellations come through, the day leading up to the event or something like that, or start hearing rumblings, I'll maybe start to dial into it. But otherwise, I'm a guy that just doesn't like to look ahead of time because I don't want to dwell on things that I can't control. And we've done it enough now that, we'll do everything we can to fight and claw to make as many games happen that we can. I think there was one year where the only game that we could make happen was West Salem and our Aquinas team were able to come to the arena on Saturday morning and play. So we got one game in one of those years that we had all the impacts. And that was after, a full day of trying to, this team's still coming and that team's still coming. Let's connect some dots and make some games. And then they all got wiped except for that one. And then another year, I think it was like maybe a year later, 2 years later, we had a full reshuffle of the schedule. Friday was pretty much washed. But we were able to kind of fill up Saturday, maybe not with the opponent that everybody was planning to play, but everybody that was able or wanted to get a game and able to travel, we were able to get them a game and make it happen for sure.
What are some things that you've been able to add? You mentioned the growth of the event. What are some things, other than just adding more games, that you've been able to add to bring some additional buzz and just kind of hype and interest around the event?
Yeah. I kind of have a little bit of a passion for some of the sports marketing side of things, the being able to do some graphic design and get some things out that way. So we've really expanded what we've been able to do on the creative side in terms of creating some arena environment with some things that way and some of the promotional materials. Really we've tried to enhance the experience for the student athletes with some of the things that we do for them. So we've really taken it to a place where every team that comes in, we want them to feel like they're, they're it, man. Like they're the reason we exist. So, they come in, we feed them a meal after their game. They get, pizza and Gatorade and candy or cookies or whatever we've got. When they come to the arena, they get greeted by a host, and they get a T-shirt. They're going to get a customized luggage tag with their name and number on it. The coaches are going to get a hospitality suite, and a custom item from one of our sponsors. So just really trying to enhance the experience with anything we can, whether it's swag and treating the players and coaches right, or I don't know, just anything that we can do to enhance the thing. This year we're taking the streaming in-house, so we're going to try to do some things with enhancing the experience for the people that can't get there. We're going to have some of the broadcasters that you hear on the state tournament games. So we'll have commentators on every game, and really try to deliver a good product that way. So that was new for us this year. Just always something. Seems like every year there's some little tweak or touch that we try to do to really make the event and the experience better for everybody.
One of the things that you've had available is some of the sponsors and partners that you've worked with have been able to be on site. Are any of those going to be there this year?
Yeah. So what's great is with the arena setup, they're able to set up, great courtside seating for us. So I think we've got 23 corporate partners this year that help make the event possible. So they all get, depending on their sponsorship level, a range of courtside seats and whatnot. So most of them will send a company representative, or they'll send friends and family, from the company, or they'll give them away through their company, whatever it is, they're able to use those tickets and have that courtside seating and get that exposure within the arena and leading up to the event. We try to promote their business as a partner and whatnot. So yeah, try to deliver a great experience for those corporate supporters and the business community that helps us out. And then we try to help the business community out too, right? By, on a Friday and Saturday in January when it's cold outside, bring in, 3,500 to 4,000 fans down to downtown La Crosse, and, let them wander Pearl Street and some of the restaurants and establishments down there and the ice cream shop and all that stuff. I'm sure they appreciate, the hotels, the little shot in the arm that they get from the event as well, is kind of a priority of ours at the same time.
Curious if some of your vendors that have been there in the past will be around, the guys from the Kick Store or Bad Store. Most significantly, as you know, Big Boar Barbecue. Are they?
Absolutely. So our hospitality suite, for at least 5, if not 8 years running, has been catered by Big Boar Barbecue out of West Salem, and they do just an awesome job. So that room is for all of our working media, all of our game officials, our coaches, and our event staff. So we've got a credentialed hospitality area where you can enjoy that barbecue and desserts and Pepsi products and whatnot. So that's always been a highlight for those that get to access that. And then, I think it was 3 years ago, we hit a new partnership with At Kicks up in Holman, and, just part of that culture that goes with our game, today is that shoe culture and that fashion culture. And Taj Hauser he plays for Holman. He's a junior out on Holman's basketball team, is the owner and brain behind At Kicks. And this year it's expanding to his streetwear brand Initials. They're going to have a booth set up, and they'll be, buying, selling, and trading sneakers. They'll be having his streetwear fashion stuff down on the arena floor for people to experience. And man, it's pretty cool to see all the kids, they're waiting for their game, or they're after their game, and they're, the players are flocking over there to see what he's got on site. And that's been a pretty cool enhancement for the experience there too.
We will take a moment and give a free shout out to Big Boar. If they want to advertise on our podcast, they're certainly welcome to. Incredible place in West Salem. And as you said, cater that event. Check it out if you're in the La Crosse area. Make the trip off the interstate. Go to West Salem. Go to their restaurant there. It's awesome barbecue. And if they want to give me free barbecue sometime when I stop in there, so.
I think we could probably make that happen for sure.
Coach, diving into the event this year, I think I counted, and you were at 11 teams that were ranked in the latest media poll. And of those 11, I think you had, and that's just on the boys' side. That's not even including your girls' team that's ranked, right? Or any of the Minnesota or Iowa squads that are ranked within their states. But just on the Wisconsin side, I think there was 11 boys' teams. 6 of those teams are ranked inside the top 3 in their divisions.
Wow.
So
yeah.
The talented, not just, I mean, you have individual talent that's coming, obviously, with Freedom's Donovan Davis will be there. That West Dallas Central squad is loaded. Slinger, Kakana, you got some really, really good individual talent. But then you also, what I really, really enjoy about this event particularly is you have those high-end D1, D2 matchups, and then you have a really good Crawford. You have a really good Fall Creek. You have a really good Regis team. So you have a really good combination of those bigger schools and smaller schools at this event.
Yeah, I think, our area is I don't want to say it's unique in that, but the growth of the game in our area, hasn't just happened in the city of La Crosse or on Alaska, right? It's happened in North Crawford, and it's happened in, teams having their run, whether it was Bangor or going away, right? So being able to feature some of those teams and lean on the network that we had as coming up as a D4 program, some of the teams that we were seeing through the playoffs and conversations we were having with the coaches of those good teams, we were able to put together some good games in that D4, D3 side of things, but then also trying to balance that right with some of those big D1, D2 programs or athletes that they have on those programs, and trying to strike that balance each year of, top end talent from out of the area, and who can we pair them against in our area, or who can we have them meet, at the La Crosse Center to play. So this year that turned into, some pretty great games for us. In all honesty, I am really excited about some of the matchups that we have. Like you said, like on the small side of things, like, prior to the McRoberts kid leaving Melrose Mindoro, I kind of thought that was going to be, they'd have him, and then North Crawford has that deep team. I thought that was going to, start the day off really good for us. North Crawford's coming through some injuries. So I think they're kind of coming through that, and I expect them to put on a good show in that first game. But then, our game against Regis, like we've been playing that game. That used to be a conference game for us back in the old CWCC days. So we try to keep that one on the schedule every year. There's a lot of history there, and it's always typically been a pretty good basketball game. So that'll be, exciting, but you get to Saturday and you start looking at, a power from the middle border like Prescott, going up against Freedom, and they've got Donovan Davis and Nick Johnson just does an awesome job with his teams up at Prescott. I fully expect that to be a good game. And then it just kind of runs from there. Like Kakana and Marshfield should be a good matchup. And then you go West Dallas Central, like you alluded to, just being loaded. But Eastridge has the Cedric Tomes kid that's going to, Minnesota to play. And he's a special talent and can get things done, and got some good players around him. So just right on down through the end of the day with Cohen's at Slinger. And I don't know, it's going to be a pretty great run of basketball pretty much all day on Saturday. I mean, that first game of the day, you got Grayson Becker and Altoona going against Quinn Gerke and Toma. Like, that's two elite scorers and fun players to watch at 9:15 in the morning. Like, I don't know, like I'm excited, and should be a fun full day of basketball.
Those events are always fun to see, how those games at 9:15, how those kids really show up to play. We for over the break, we played at Winona and we played at 10, so we were on the bus I think we got on the bus at 6:30. So those early morning games are always fun to see.
Yeah, someone's got to play them, unfortunately, if you're going to get 9 games in a day, and it's a a testament to those kids and those coaches that can get their team ready to look like their normal version of themselves in those early and late games for sure.
Yeah. Fellas, before we hop over into just talking about coach's season, anything else you wanted to touch on with regards to the event coming up this weekend?
Maybe just, Coach, give a plug for the website where people can find the schedule, the tickets, all that kind of stuff. And just to give people an idea as well, we will have a full preview article on Bound Wisconsin this week with all that information and some more in-depth previews as well. But plug where they can find some of that information and maybe any socials you have as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website's kind of your home base for everything. So if you go to MidwestPlayersClassic.com, that's going to be kind of everything you need from your past results and all that sort of stuff to this year's schedule. We've got a awesome page that the guys at Bound built for us that shows all the game previews, and you can see a side-by-side comparison of, the stat breakdowns and whatnot. So all that stuff's at MidwestPlayersClassic.com. That's going to be your place to buy tickets. We'll have digital ticketing through Bound. You can buy tickets at the gate, or you can buy them ahead of time. I suggest buying them ahead so that you don't even have to stop at the table. You just show your ticket and walk on through. All of our streaming is going to take place right there at our website. So we're gonna run that right through the site. So if you're gonna look for the streams remotely, again, hit our website up. And then we're on Instagram, we're on X, we're on Facebook. I believe it's MW Players Classic for all of those. So you can follow kind of the game recaps and all the articles. I think we've got like 30 or 32 approved media credentials so far. A lot of photography, videography, a lot of print media coverage. So there'll be a ton of material coming out, leading up to and after the event. So follow our social channels, and we'll try to share each and every piece that we can find to kind of wrap this thing up and really promote the teams and players that are a part of it.
Yeah, again, as we mentioned, it's the premier event, in my opinion, on the west side of the state. It's one of the best events overall in the state, and it's just a lot of really, really good and a lot of really fun basketball. So if you're a junkie, which there's plenty of them, get out there on Friday and Saturday and get to a game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, any questions you have, man, like this website, I'm just looking through it right now, is awesome. There's from results to sponsors to ticket sales schedules, teams that are in it. This is really well done. So you can tell by looking at the website that it's a really well ran event, and I'm excited to hopefully tune in this weekend a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. That's my year-round hobby, is kind of maintaining that thing and keeping it all up to date. So
yeah, it looks great. I'm a big fan.
So let's hop over to your school ball year. 10th year as head coach. You spent 14 years there previously as an assistant. 2000 grad.
Yeah.
So Aquinas, that blue gold, that runs right through your veins.
Absolutely. That was, obviously a product of the high school, played for Coach Desmond in the program, graduated, like you said, in 2000. Now I'm here. I'm the head coach. I've got the privilege to have my son in my program as a senior this year. My daughter's our manager. My other son's our photographer, videographer. Like, it's all in. Like our whole family's, invested in what we've got going on, and it's been a great run. I love coaching basketball. I love talking basketball, but more importantly, like, it's Aquinas basketball. Like, I love being a part of the program and the culture and the kids and families, and it's definitely something special for sure.
You've had a lot of success at Aquinas over the years, for many years, obviously, going back to Scott Christopherson and Bronson Koenig and a lot of other teams that were very, very good. You got your own state championship as a head coach last year, winning it all in Division IV, beating Bonduel in the state championship game. What was that experience like, especially as someone that, as you said, is an Aquinas lifer?
Yeah, man. It's one of those things that, right, like, as coaches, we're always chasing it. We're always talking about it. It's always that goal that's, out there on the board when you've got a team that you think, can really compete. but do you ever really think it's gonna happen, right? Like it's so hard to make that happen. Like everything has to go right. And we had one of those just really special groups of kids that like had that like refused to lose. Like you looked at our Mineral Point game, and a lot of people could have said we were dead in the water in the state semifinal, and it was just fight and scrap and claw and by any means necessary get one more possession on the boards than them that mattered, and try to get it done. So yeah, it was just an awesome group of kids to share that with. We had a special group of seniors that really showed us how to compete. It really was on the heels of the work of the group from the year before that, really established that like winning way and winning culture. To be able to get the job done and hang a banner and have a gold ball in the trophy case is something that none of those kids will ever forget. And it's something that I'll cherish forever. That's for sure.
Touching base specifically on that Mineral Point game, if you go back to the 23-24 season, obviously it was one of the better games of that tournament in general. One of the better games in recent memory. The state semifinal Division IV game, 1 point loss, and as you said in 24-25, Claude never gave up, kind of come back. Talk a little bit about kind of like that full circle moment, specifically with regards to that game, that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the most respect for Coach Burrison and the guys at Mineral Point, right? Like they're first class and they really know how to play and coach the game. So yeah, I mean that game was a heck of a basketball game and one that you could almost taste the victory or you're at least grasping at it for sure, and you think it's there to be had and the way it unfolded down the stretch, it hurt, man. Like letting that one slip away was not easy to take. But I've told the story before. Like we were getting on the bus, leaving the Kohl Center, and I had underclassmen looking at me, going like, "We'll be back," like with confidence, like just with a look in their eye that was like, "We're gonna make this happen," and whatever. And the seniors, in all the disappointment of that loss were like, they had their younger guys back and they were saying, you guys aren't done. You guys got more in front of you. You guys are going to go make this happen. And so it was one of those things that, you don't want to ever, every season writes its own story and it's a different group of kids and whatever, right? You can't ever really tie the two together just because of all the turnover and whatnot. But there were definitely, those confident, we're going to do everything we can in the off season and through the season to make sure we get ourselves back there for sure.
I'm always curious about this, Coach. You go to back-to-back state tournaments, win a gold ball last year. How, if at all, have you seen that effect within your youth program? Does that have any effect on numbers? Does that have any effect on just the excitement overall? Do you see more kids in the gym the next year?
Yeah, like our summer camp numbers, like our youth camp and stuff like that. We definitely had a little uptick from the year before. Our youth basketball community's pretty engaged anyhow. So in our school community is obviously of a limited size, right? Being a school system of 1,000 kids and total, preschool through 12. There's only so many boys that are a part of it, right? So I don't know that we had any more coming out of the woodwork as players or big numbers increase, but the level of engagement for sure, right? Like just the energy, the shot in the arm that gives, you can definitely see and feel the excitement. You can see and feel the excitement and momentum, like from those youth coaches, especially those dads, moms, volunteers, staff members that the Boys and Girls Club that we partner with for our youth program hires. They feel like they're a part of something and helping build towards something. And that level of engagement definitely went up for sure.
It's always good to see.
Yeah.
This year we've 10-1. 10-1. We got the year going off. You're on a stretch where you play Friday, and we talked a little bit about this on a call earlier this week. But you are on a stretch where you play 3 games in 4 days, and you have one tomorrow.
Yeah.
Off of a day where you have a game on Saturday and you aren't able to get into that gym on the Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, we'd had a tough stretch with the 7-day rule anyhow, but being a Catholic school and following diocesan athletic handbook rules and whatnot, we're not allowed to have team activities on Sunday. So yeah, we played Friday. Got a win against Logan, conference game. Went on the road, played a day game at Rochester Lourdes on Saturday. Had a rest day today, and then it's actually a no school day tomorrow. So we will get a little 40-minute walkthrough or something like that, tomorrow morning. And then we've got Arcadia coming to our place for a non-conference game tomorrow night. So yeah, weird stretch for sure. Coach's nightmare, player's dream, right? Like they just get to go and roll the balls out and tip it up and go hoop. And we're sitting here stressing like we don't have a game plan in. We're not prepared. We're not controlling every detail. Just kind of one of those things, right?
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question, is that when you deal with a day like today where you can't get in the gym and you can't prepare for your game tomorrow, what would, if there was school tomorrow, what would your game plan be like in order to make sure that you have everything fine-tuned and ready to go for tomorrow night's game?
Yeah, so actually I didn't even know it was a no school day tomorrow. So after our win up at Rochester, I started talking to the kids. I'm like, hey, we can't get in the gym before the game. We're looking at, you're going to have to just come in at 3:30 when school's out, and we'll go through a quick scout and a little bit of film, and we'll just have to, hit it on the fly. And one of my assistants stopped me and he goes, "Oh, you idiot, you got no school on Monday. You've already got the gym reserved at 11." I was steps ahead already and not looking at the calendar and whatnot. So I'm glad it works out where it's a no school day and we can get in the gym for a few minutes, and it'll at least put my mind at ease for sure.
Yeah, lets your heart rate come back down to resting a little bit there.
Absolutely.
You play in the Mississippi Valley Conference, and that's a conference this year that right now is looking pretty tough. You've got an Onalaska team that's undefeated. I think they were ranked second in D2 in our media poll. La Crosse Central team that's very, very good. Coach Fergit does a great job there. Holman squad that is
super talented.
Slouch.
Yeah.
And then even you look at Atoma and Esparta, they're not somebody that you can just take the night off against. So
not at all. I mean, Logan gave us fits the other night. I mean, they took us right down to the end. I mean, we were doing everything we can in the final possessions to get a win there. So yeah, I mean, in the MVC, you can kind of throw records out the door a little bit. There's talent, there's great coaches. And every night's a battle. I mean, like, that's so cliche to say, but like, man, I mean, we've seen it at Logan the last 2 years where literally, like, it doesn't matter that they don't have they had one win when we played them coming off of a game against Prairie du Chien, and they acted as if they were the toughest team that we were going to play all year, so yeah, the MVC is awesome. The coaches are great. The rivalries are healthy. The fans get behind it. So it's a pretty good conference to play in, and being the little guy in that conference, having, we're 338 students or whatever we are. We're there's nobody that's even double our size. Everybody else is Holman's got 1,400 kids or something, 1,300 kids or something like that. So it's all right. It's always had us battle tested come playoff time. And, we've always, played a competitive role as a member of the conference. So it's been good to us for sure.
You've got a pretty solid squad again this year, even with the loss of graduation from Logan Barr, Vincent Barr, that group from last year that helped lead you to that state tournament. You've had Calvin Barr, who's a junior, step up even more. Logan Becker has been, I feel like a consistent playmaker for you for 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
And then someone that I got to see at a showcase this summer that I was really impressed with was Finn Strom.
Yeah.
I feel like he's taken a pretty big step forward for you in his campaign.
So Finn's been the one that's made the biggest leap for us last year to this year, just because of the depth that we had, right? He played a key role and he showed everybody what he could do in our state tournament run. I mean, he was special that entire playoff series. But throughout the year, right? I mean, he was coming off the bench and playing his role really well. And this year he's led us in scoring a few times. He's he's doing everything we need, and making open shots and getting to the basket and playing with a toughness that's just outstanding. So his game has really expanded. His physicality has really expanded, and can kind of hurt you from three and at the rim. So he's been a really nice contributor for us and leader for us this year. And you talked about Calvin. He's like just a double waiting to happen, right? I mean, when he plays, he's going after every offensive and defensive rebound. He's getting to the basket. Can't leave him alone from the outside, even at 6'4", 6'5", whatever he is. He can shoot it and knock down open shots. And you mentioned Logan, and Logan is one of those kids that like you just can't leave him alone. Like he's gonna bury open shots with range. He can shoot it from deep. He's got NBA type range and really makes it happen. And he gets a downhill line to the basket. He's pretty dang explosive as well. So, but what I like about his game the most is his willingness to just grit and grind on the other team's best scorer, right? When you've got one of your leading scorers and leaders on the team that's willing to be the guy that's like, yep, that's the defensive matchup that I want. And I'm going to give you all 36 minutes both ways. That's pretty special. That's a great starting point to set the tone for a team for sure.
Yeah, that kind of goes to a bigger point just in basketball or in high school sports in general is when you have a group that has a leader like Logan or players like Vincent and spacing right now, your senior leaders from last year. When you have groups
right.
when you have groups that are player led, it makes it a lot easier for you as a coach. So speak to how important it is to have guys on the court be that extension of you.
Yeah, it's there's no replacement for it, right? Like they're able to see and feel what's going on, sometimes even faster than the coaches are. This year, we're starting 4 seniors. All 4 of them have a really high basketball IQ, and they've kind of been that, that mental, from a mental side and from a basketball side, they do provide that rudder for us that, can course correct and, be that extension of me. One of whom is my son, who's almost a clone of me in terms of his basketball brain and how he sees and plays the game. I've coached him since he was probably in 4th grade or whatever. So it's cool to see him out there. He's a step ahead of me. I'm like, oh, what'd you just say there? Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking, whatever. But then to have guys like Calvin, who's just a gamer and works at his craft endlessly, and 2 sophomores and Roman Kirshner and Will Dickinson that, come off the bench and are capable of giving us, starter level, input or output, in terms of scoring and making plays for their teammates. The depth is really what I love to see, and guys that are willing to just accept and own their roles because they know that that's what's going to lead to success.
Yeah, a couple more questions, and we won't keep you too long. We've already kept you over that 30-minute mark. This year you move up to D3 from D4. So something that I wasn't too thrilled about. I get to see you and Mineral Point move up and Lancaster move up. All 3 teams that move up from 4 to 3 in Richland Center's sectional semi.
Right.
Just give me a little breakdown of how playing against the Onalaskas, the Lacrosse Centrals, teams like that really help you come that playoff time when you get to go down to
in terms of quality and style of play, like we get all of that through the schedule that we play during the season. So, it doesn't feel like, just because we got bumped up and I'll throw it in there. Like we were going up anyhow. Our enrollment made it in, I think by a handful of students. So even without the success factor or whatever they called it, tournament factor, whatever, I think we were going up anyhow. But like it's not a jump for us. That's just who we're playing or even maybe a tick smaller than what we're playing all year anyhow. It's more of the lack of familiarity, right? Like we were pretty used to seeing the same D4 teams. We had a handful of years where we went north and a handful where we went south in D4, but we had been in it long enough that we just found familiarity with all of those programs and kind of knew what to expect. So when it came time to prepare, the basics were there. It was just maybe dialing in on personnel or some unique, little things. And this year it's going to take a way more thorough deep dive into what some of these programs do and whatever, just because there's not that same level of familiarity or non-conference, games that we've played to draw on for sure.
I'll make sure to let everybody know we're not sharing any Richland Center film. We're going to take everything off YouTube if that first round match happens.
Awesome.
Fellas, anything else to add here before we let Coach go? All right, it looks like they're mute. Coach, again, if you want to, before we head out, just plug the website, plug where people can find all the information for the event on Friday, Saturday.
Happy to, yeah. MidwestPlayersClassic.com is going to be the spot, or catch us on one of the social media channels. Get yourself to the Lacrosse Center Friday and Saturday. It's going to be 2 great days of basketball, and look forward to making it all happen and enjoying it with all the great people down there.
Yeah, again, appreciate you, Coach. Appreciate you coming on. I will see you Friday. Trav will see you Saturday.
Looking forward to it. Week. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And we're back here from our interview with Coach Reinhart. Again, thanks to him for taking the time out of his night to sit and talk shop, sit and talk hoops. Trav, the Midwest Players Classic, I think you've been going to it a lot longer than me. It's one of those marquee events. Are you going to be over there Friday at all, or?
Still to be determined. I'm likely to come over on Friday, if nothing else, to stay Friday night so I can be there for the first game on Saturday that starts at 9:15. Hoping to get to 1 or 2 of the games on Friday night, but we'll see how things play out and work out there as far as scheduling. But I have been there a number of years. I don't think I was there the first year, but I mean, one of the first years. They started in 2011, I think, was the first year. I've been there probably 7-8 times over the course of the 15-ish years that they've had it. There was a couple years, as we talked about with Coach Reinhart, where really got impacted by weather, and they weren't able to hold much of an event, unfortunately. Which, as people that run events, like we've run a number of events, Colton, that's nightmare fuel when that thing happens. If you've got a big event planned, that's an awesome event, and then Mother Nature says, sorry, no. That really sucks. So feel for them on that. But hopefully we get some good weather. We'll have great games there. And again, you can check out us on social media, on X especially, for updates throughout the day. We'll have a preview article out this week that you can get all the information. Really always fun to look at some of those out-of-state teams as well. Yeah. As he mentioned, East Ridge has a kid going to, I think he was Minnesota. Got a chance to see Suggs there, got a chance to see Chet Holmgren there, got a chance to see a lot of out-of-state Brad Davison, Marcus Page. So, those out-of-state teams are legit that they bring in for that.
Yeah, it's a great lineup of games, and I'm excited to hopefully tune in online because I'm not gonna be able to get up there. But what a great deal too for I think it's $8 on Friday and $10 on Saturday for an all-day pass online to watch all those games. That's a steal.
Yeah.
So if you can't get there, you can definitely watch all the games online for super cheap.
On top of that, Brad is super accommodating to the media or people that come and attend the event. So it's super well run on his part. Before we hop into our preview, there was something, Coach, I wanted to talk to you about, and it was kind of a sticking point in my post-game talk with my group, and something that we've talked kind of all week about with our group is correcting errors, making different mistakes, so to speak, on the basketball court. And if there is an athlete, a player of yours that is struggling with making the same error in a consistent fashion on the basketball court, what are some ways that you have found that have helped you in teaching those kids and helping those kids through stretches where it might not just be so easy as just correcting it, so to speak?
I mean, I think a lot of times, obviously, in the heat of the moment, when it is occurring, that's a little bit different. But you're talking about on the practice floor and things like that in preparation for games as well. So I mean, one thing that I for sure do is that you got to remember too that they're teenagers, and they're still learning the game. And usually maybe the next day after the game, before practice, I might pull them off to the side, or if I see them during the school day, just pull them off to the side and be like, how you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, do you understand, maybe why I might have been upset with you about this particular thing last night? And usually they're very receptive and understanding of that. And, so just having a conversation one-on-one with the kid to talk about it a little bit, just so that they feel a little bit more comfortable. Something we do, and we have this conversation prior to the season starting, is when we're in the film room, I talk to our guys, hey, listen, sometimes when we're in here, individuals and small groups of people might feel a little bit uncomfortable, and that's okay, because we're here to get better as a unit, as a team. And there might be times when kids get called out individually, but understand that it's you getting called out individually, but it's also a learning tool for everybody else to make sure that they're understanding what we want to see on the floor. So we definitely watch it on film, and we'll if it's a glaring issue, obviously. But I think just having that one-on-one conversation with kids and talking to them and seeing maybe their side of it, to like why they might be having this issue with turnovers per se, right? Unforced turnovers or something like that, right? And hearing their side of it so that you can think about that and process it, and then maybe as a coach, well, how can I make sure that is something that we get away from, type thing.
I'll pipe in while you get that figured out a little bit, maybe. But I mean, as a coach, that's one of the most frustrating things, right? Is seeing kids make the same mistake over and over again. When I played, I was not the most physically gifted or most talented player, but one of the things I always prided myself on was not making the same mistake over and over. Mm-hmm. And so, it's difficult sometimes to accept that that's not the case for everybody, that kids make mistakes and some of them make the same mistakes over and over. And that is extremely frustrating as a coach to have to work through. Coach Smith, you mentioned it a little bit, and I can't remember if it was somebody that we talked to earlier in our session. Maybe it was Dave Lepisto even, impact over intent. The impact of what you're trying to say is more important than your intent of what you're trying to say. And that is hard for coaches to swallow sometimes, that it's on you if somebody is continuing to make the same mistake over and over again to a large extent, because for whatever reason, there is a deficit in what you are trying to communicate versus what they are receiving. And that is, it's easy for us as coaches to say, well, they're not getting it. Well, then that's on us to fix or to find a way through. So that's a challenge for sure. When kids are making mistakes and they make the same mistakes, and trying to get that figured out so that they can move forward, you can move forward, and the team can move forward.
Yeah, I think Coach Merck did a good job of kind of touching on, one, it's just a game. Two, we are dealing with 14 to 18-year-olds. So being extremely cognizant of that and having to remind yourself over and over again, even as a coach, like, hey, every kid's ability to correct those mistakes or see the error is going to be different. One kid, it might take one time. One kid, it might take 50 times. It's the simplicity of that. And then just, again, remembering that they are just kids. So, yeah, we have to find ways as coaches to communicate that. And that way that we communicate that is going to be different 1 through 15. So.
Yeah, and I think that there are certain things too. I mean, obviously we don't know, we're talking about a hypothetical situation, right? So we don't know the exact error we're trying to correct, but even with individual errors with kids and them continuing to have the same issues over and over again, right? Like, there are also things as a team that you could probably do, or you probably need to look at as well, to make sure that you're limiting the opportunity for those errors to occur, right?
Yes.
And so there are things that you can do that way, and and unfortunately, right, at some point, like as a coach, like those things that continue to occur, and if you think it's in the team's best interest, then obviously, there might be a time where you have to go in a different direction, right? Where like playing time might be something that changes for certain players, right? Obviously, like as coaches, especially of young teenagers, that's a really hard thing to do, right? Is to say, hey, you're gonna play less, or hey, you're gonna play more, right? Like dictating playing time is an extremely difficult thing to do, especially in today's world, right? Because of just the outsiders looking in, right? The people who aren't in practice every single day and see what we see as a coaching staff, and why that those players are on the floor and why those other players are not on the floor, right? And so those errors are a lot of outliers to why they are and they aren't right on the floor. So it's a really really tricky thing to do and to deal with. But I just think that you get, as coaches, like Travis said, like it's on us to do everything we can possibly do to make sure that we are minimizing those errors, and making sure the kids understand why those errors are occurring and what you can do to get better and to work on them.
That's what separates the really great coaches in a lot of ways from just a coach, is that ability to diagnose, connect, fix, get through, as you said, put kids in the best position to succeed possible to begin with, to limit mistakes and errors, and then how do you break through and connect with them to correct those kinds of situations. That's what makes Dave Lepisto and Mary Merg and Chris Smith and Ryan Walls, the top outstanding coaches, that ability to do those kinds of things.
I mean, I think though that the relationship piece is honestly the most important thing, right? Like I think every coach that I talk to you about building a culture, and like it starts with the relationships with the kids and getting the kids to trust you. And it's not about them liking you. Like if you get the kids to trust you and to get them to work hard, right? Like chances are they probably like you. But like the biggest thing is the respect factor, right? And like if you don't respect the kids, if you don't put trust in them to make decisions that are right, well, how are they going to flip it around and do the same to you, right? So, and if I'm going to come at you sometimes with some emotion, which I do, I'm a very emotional coach, right? But my guys understand that at the end of the day, like I love them to death, and like I will do anything for them to make sure that they're as successful as they can possibly be. And that's something that gets talked about every single day at some point in some regard, in our program. And it just makes those uncomfortable situations when you talk about things like playing time or things like, hey, like you're doing this wrong and we need to fix it. It makes it so much easier to have those conversations then.
Yeah.
I've been around and had experiences with coaches that that don't have the trust of kids in some ways, often because they're trying to be their friend. They want to be liked, and coach in kids, especially good kids, in kids that are good athletes and have been successful in other things, they see through that. They see through wanting the coach to like me, or wanting the coach wanting me to like them. They want to trust you. They want to respect you and know that you are going to help them be successful. That's what the good kids want. They don't care how it gets there. And there's a lot of different ways and philosophies to be successful and how you communicate and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, they want to trust you. And if they don't, it doesn't matter if they like you, as you said, Chris, because it's not going to work out.
Yeah, agreed. Let's flip the script completely from one topic to another. Trav, you put this in our notes. Guys, when you were younger, when you were growing up, we're all basketball junkies, so obviously we've been liking the game. We've been watching the game for a very long time. Who did you grow up idolizing and wanting to see play? Whether it's, I think we've touched on the Sam Oki a couple times, or whether it's guys at the collegiate or professional level.
Well, I'll start first, and I'm interested in your thoughts, because the first idolizing that you have as a basketball player is somebody local. It's somebody in your school, right? When you were a fourth grader or a fifth grader, there was somebody on varsity that was like, again, 12 foot tall and could do anything and everything. So there's always that first person. For me, I didn't go to a ton of Richland Center games when I was really young, in that, second to fourth, fifth grade level. But Glenn Brown was a guy that was 5-6 years older than me that just seemed like an incredible player. He was a very good player at Richland Center. So that was kind of, one of the local guys. And then Sam Oakey, I mean, that was my era. So that was especially in Southwest Wisconsin, that was a guy that everybody idolized, had a mystique over. And even Coach Reinhart mentioned Rafe LaFrance. I think he was the same graduating class as me. And we went to watch him play when I was in high school, and he was in high school at MFL Marmac, just across the river. And it was the only game he ever missed in his career. He had mono, and we went all the way down there, and he didn't play. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than Sam Oakey. I remember stories of, older guys, Lamont Weaver, and obviously Mickey Crow. Travis Tuttle was kind of in that Southwest Wisconsin area a few years before me as well. So those are some of the names that, were kind of that mystique, and that, that you grew up idolizing for me.
Chris?
Yeah, so I mean, so when I was younger, when I was about really getting into basketball, I mean, truly, really getting into basketball is like, right around being 10 years old or so is when being an alum of Watertown High School, and Watertown made their back-to-back trips to state. I really and the cool thing was too is that was that group of guys was all the same age as my oldest brother. And my oldest brother didn't play basketball, but he was friends with a large group of those guys, so I knew who those guys were. But I was really really into watching them, like the Cale Vogels of the world, and Nate Sir, and the Euler brothers, Mike and Jeff. Like those guys, like are guys that I was like, man, I really idolized those guys as young kids. It's like getting to see them, like, man, this is Watertown, like. They're on the TV and they're at they're at the state tournament. Like that's awesome. I bet you we still have some VHS tapes somewhere at my parents' house where those games were taped, and they're probably darn near ruined with the amount of times that I watched them. When it comes to the local stuff, but obviously when you jump up the ranks into the professional levels and everything, I mean, I was an MJ through and through guy, right? I was a Bulls fan growing up, because the Bucks sucked, and Michael Jordan was life at that point. And actually, as I got older into high school, then I started to really follow. I wasn't ever really much of a LeBron fan. I was always a Carmelo Anthony fan. I have so many jerseys and shirts and all that kind of stuff still in the back of my closet that are hanging. And at some point, like those will probably get given to my son at some point, but. You talked about wanting to go see Rafe LaFrance and everything. A couple of years ago, we spent a bunch of money to get Bucks Lakers tickets because my son is obsessed with LeBron. And LeBron was there, but did not play. So my son was crying before the game as a 5-year-old that he got these tickets for his birthday, and he couldn't even see LeBron play. So that was a little disappointing, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, for me, Trav is 10 years older than me. My other brother, Robbie, was 8 years older than me. So I grew up in the gym, mom and dad taking me to all of their sporting events. So those two in particular. Also, I got our head coach, Brian Pauls. Is he a year older than you, Trav? Right?
Yeah.
For the longest time, he was the school's leading scorer. Him and Merrill Brunson. When Trav was a sophomore, that team was just insane. The year that Trav was a junior and even senior, they had really good squads. Rob, my favorite Hornet to watch was Justin Hardy. He could just jump out of the gym, and he was taking alley-oops off of backboards and dunking it and whatnot. Like I remember him specifically when I was younger being like, oh my gosh, as a kid, you don't get to see a lot of dunks at a Richland Center basketball game. So seeing a guy do that was always really, really cool. Guys that were around the area that were in Trav and Rob's class is like Mike Wilkinson at Heights. Always remember going to him. Clayton, what was his name from Reedsburg?
Clayton Hansen.
That was a game that I specifically remember from when Rob was in school, because I don't know if it was a playoff game or whatnot, and they had Reedsburg beat, and then cousin of ours or something got a tech, and it spiraled out of control. But Rob's team has the dubious distinction of giving up,
I think it was 47 or 48 points to both Mike Wilkinson and Clayton Hansen in high school.
But two really good players. Yeah. So those are guys that I remember locally. I know when I was a kid, obviously it was all MJ, but then I would do a starting five and I would play. If you didn't, I would play on the little hoop in the basement, and I would be Kobe, Vince Carter, Ray Allen, and then I had this weird obsession with Anthony Peeler. Why? I don't know. And then it was AI. That was my starting five, and I would go until each of them scored 20 points. I would be a different one of them every possession, and then that'd be my game for the night.
I mean, I'm going to totally date myself. I didn't really get into college and pro guys, but I mean, obviously MJ was number one for me. I wore number 23. Like, that was the guy. But I remember going to Brian Poles' house, Colton, and playing on his Nerf hoop in the basement. And I don't know why, but BJ Armstrong and Roy Marble, we always played as former Iowa guys. And then the UNLV teams from the early 90s, Larry Johnson, I loved. The Arkansas teams with Scotty Thurman and Corliss Williamson. Huge Vin Baker fan for a long time. Anything in that early to mid 90s, that was my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Well, let's hop into our weekly preview. I'm just going to run through some games on the boys' side. I'm going to end it with Coach Smith talking about his week, because Hartford Orioles they're having a heck of a year. They just had another really, really close game this past week, and they got a gauntlet this week in two matchups. But just looking at our weekly schedule, Monday the headliner is Sheboygan Lutheran and Oostburg. Both are undefeated, both ranked. Big East, I believe, South opponents that have battled for that conference title quite a few times. Tuesday you got Brook Central and Brook East. Really, really good Greater Metro game. Regis and GET, solid non-conference. In the FRCC, you have Sheboygan North and Notre Dame. You also have Bayport and West Appear. In the Big Eight, you get La Follette and Memorial. You get Verona and Middleton. Two really good games for the teams at the top of those conferences. And then a couple non-con games. One at the very top with Arrowhead and Wisco. Two teams that are in the top five in D1. Wisco's, we've talked about them. They're looking like that train that is just inevitable, so to speak. And then in the lower division in D5, we have a North Crawford at Southwestern matchup. Thursday, a game that I wish I could be at. We have a game, though. It's that Kickapoo at Crawford. Two teams, obviously, in my area. Kickapoo have gone to a couple of their games already this year. And, man, oh, man, that the Ridge and Valley, those two teams get into battle. It's going to be fun. A non-con Lake Country Lutheran at New Berlin West. And then in the Badger, two really good games with Wanakee, Monona Grove, and then McFarland and Mount Horeb. Friday and Saturday, we've touched on the Midwest Players Classic. You have Neenah and Appleton North in the FVA, and then the two top teams in the Great North are going to square off. Both undefeated in league play, I should specify. Mosinee and Rhinelander. Saturday, again, you have more of the MPC games that are going to be great. And then you have the Luke Holman Memorial Showcase at Brookfield Central. 16 games there. Some of the ones that stick out to me are Franklin Greendale, Wisco Brook Central, Notre Dame Waterford, and Homestead and Brook East. And then Chris, you've given me flack for not putting these on the preview list. I've got them both here. Hartford Orioles are at Port Washington on Monday and at Homesteads on Friday. So two bookends to your week, two away games. How you feeling?
Yeah, Port Washington's off to a phenomenal start, being their 10-1 and playing some really good basketball. They're tough, physical team that really kind of grinds it out against everybody. Have some marquee wins. Beating Slinger, beating Oostburg. We're in for a dogfight on their home floor. They got us really good the last time we played them last year, and so I know that our returners are really hungry for this one, and our guys are really amped up because they felt like we let one slip away from us on Friday night. And then to finish out the week, we go to Homestead, and Homestead, they're one of the top dogs in our conference and have been ever since I've gotten to Hartford, and I have a lot of respect for Sean Kreider and what he does over there. Him and I have become really good friends. They're coming off a huge win, obviously, at De Pere on Saturday. Like they're playing their best basketball right now. So when they get rolling as a team and as a unit, they're tough because they're so well coached and prepared every single night. So I said last week that we're going through a portion of our schedule here where we're really going to see what we're made of, and at the end of the day, like it's only going to help us get better and better for the postseason coming up. So, and that's obviously when everybody wants to be playing their best basketball. But we sure like to play our best basketball this week and knock off two very, very good and well respected teams.
Yeah, Trav, how about on the girls' side? What do we got coming up?
Yeah, really good action this week. I would say Tuesday and Friday might be the deepest week or deepest nights of quality matchups that we have had this year. Tuesday, a lot of conference games. Hartford and Coach Daniels, they welcome in Arrowhead and Natalie Cuso, the top-ranked team in Division One. Nina is at Kimberly. Winneconne's at Xavier. Wittenberg Burnhamwood at Bonduel. Wednesday, an interesting non-conference game, Whitefish Bay and Wisconsin Lutheran. Both those teams have played absolutely bonkers schedules this year. And, I think Wisconsin Lutheran, I can't remember what their record is now. At one point, they were 6-5, somewhere around there. But the teams they played are ridiculous. If you look at our power index, because of that strength of schedule, they're still like top 25 or pretty close to it in all divisions because of that schedule they played. Thursday, up in the Big Rivers Conference, again, some big conference matchups. You got Hudson at Rice Lake. In the Mississippi Valley Conference, Onalaska is at La Crosse Central. And then in the Merriwood South, I think it is, Stratford is at Assumption. Friday, again, a huge, deep night of games. FVA action, kind of the star here. Kimberly is at Hortonville. Appleton North is at Nina. And then a non-conference game, interesting one on Friday night, Verona at Pius. Not a huge one on Saturday, a non-conference game. We talked about these two teams plenty. Pewaukee is at Oostburg.
That's a good one.
Another huge test for Oostburg in a great non-conference game on Saturday. And the one girls game in the Midwest Players Classic on Friday is a very good one as well, with Aquinas and St. Croix Central playing.
Yeah, it's almost like we're beating a dead horse here when we say that every week that I look at the schedule on a Monday night and it's like, oh boy, I could talk about 10 of these games. And then you look at the Tuesday night and it's like, I could talk about 25 of these games. Same with a Friday.
I think it's just a great job by these coaches and scheduling, right? I mean, no one seems to be ducking anybody anymore, which is awesome.
Yeah.
They want to go through tough stretches in their schedule. Coach Daniels and I were just talking about this last week about how, their schedule is no slouch this year. And, the main reason is because they want to be battle tested come postseason. And, their conference is very top heavy and they want to make sure that they're playing their best basketball come playoff time. So I love that. I love that about the coaches, the competitive edge that a lot of these coaches obviously have, and they just want to play really good opponents every night. It's fun.
It's interesting in the back end of our bound system on our schedule page. Next to each team, it shows their power index number, so you can kind of see the big matchups, right? Something that we should look at getting on the public-facing side. But on Tuesday alone, there are 16 games where both teams are inside the top 100 overall. If you're inside the top 100, that's doing pretty well. This is, Power Index ranks 1 through 500 in overall and across all divisions. Yeah. So, again, just a huge night of games on Tuesday and then on Friday. And then that Saturday game on the girls' side with Oostburg and Pewaukee. Oostburg is number 1 overall in the Power Index, which is interesting as a D3 school. Pewaukee's number 5, so it's hard to get much better than that.
Yeah. If you like basketball, there is plenty of opportunities, whether you want to get out to a game in your area or head over to boundwisconsin.com or download the Bound app and find the streaming link for that game, because there's a way to watch it for 95% 5% of the games that happen each night. There's some way that you can get there. Well, 100% of the games, there's a way you can get there, right? But 95% of them, you can find a way to watch it online. So before we get out of here, before we end our this week's episode, Trav, why don't we get into Trav's trivia?
You need a what do they call it in the podcast, or a stinger? You need some stinger music when you get into that special segment. Let's go back and look at last
look into
week.
it in the offseason.
There we go. Let's look at last week. The question, one of them was, what is the boys basketball state tournament record for most points in a game by a team? And we just talked about it off air last week. It took you guys a little while to get there, but only one game, surprisingly, has ever had 100 points in a state tournament game. There's a lot that have been 90, but 109 is the state tournament record on the boys' side, set by Milwaukee Lincoln back in 1967. And of course, those Milwaukee Lincoln teams in the 60s, some of the most storied, mythical teams in state history. Huge talent. Obviously, they played a very open style of basketball, no three-point line, scoring 109 points without a three-point line in I imagine, a 32-minute game at that time. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then on the girls' side, our question was, how many different girls' basketball programs have won at least one girls' basketball state championship in the WIAA? And I don't know where I would have thought, but the number is 106. So I could have seen people guessing 50. I could have seen people guessing 200. It's one of those that you're not quite sure where that number would come in.
Yeah.
Let's look at this week's trivia questions. First of all, what team or program has the most Mr. Basketball selections of all time?
I'd have a guess.
I will give you one hint on this one, and that is that the team that many might associate with this has none. Randolph has no Mr. Basketball selections, which is interesting. They do have a girls' basketball selection for a Miss Basketball, but they do not have any boys' basketball selection. So it is not Randolph, I will tell you that. The other trivia question this week. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Coach Smith.
I don't know. It's got to be a team. It's got to be one of those Milwaukee teams. I don't know. That's my guess. Like, my guess, I don't know. Am I allowed to say it? Like, say a couple
You can guess. I'm not going to tell you whether you're right or wrong.
Like I would guess, like, I don't know, maybe like Milwaukee Vincent or something, or like Milwaukee Washington. I don't know. Just what came to mind right away. There's a lot of guys that played for those teams that were really good back in the day.
We were talking about guys that we kind of grew up idolizing, or like we're kind of that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the top players in the top teams my senior year was Milwaukee Vincent. They had Jose Winston, who went on to play at Colorado and, of course, coached in Wisconsin at Brown Deer, is now at UW Milwaukee, right? Or is it Marquette as an assistant? I think it's Milwaukee.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
Yeah. And then
when he graduated, like late 90s, right? Winston?
1998, same
1998. Okay.
And then Marshall Williams was on that team, who played, where did he play? NC State, maybe? James Wright, I think, was on that team, if I remember correctly. He's the girls' coach at Nicolet, right? So that was some loaded teams back then. And then I will throw this one at you related to WBCA Mr. and Ms. Basketball selections. How many schools have had both a Mr. and Ms. Basketball winner? And I already told you it's not Randolph, because they did not have a boys selection, surprisingly. So how many schools have had both Mr. and Ms. Basketball?
I'm not sure I have a guess for that. It's a great question.
Good questions this week in Trav's Trivia. And that kind of alludes to something I think we're going to do next week. We're going to dive into the Mr. and Ms. Basketball Awards. We're going to give a little bit of a preview, some front runners, maybe talk a little bit about the history. We can maybe move the trivia question to a little bit earlier in the episode and flow into our conversation about it. But We're not going to have a guest. We're not going to have an interview next week. We're going to flow just us three. Get into some segments. Get into the Mr. and Ms. basketball conversation. Talk a little bit about conference realignment that we've had on the our outlines for the last couple weeks, and then I think it'd be a good time to maybe even go over a couple of these conference races that we look at and we're like, oh boy, this one's going to be fun down the stretch. So I think right now it might be a little premature. I think you can look at a lot of them and be like, oh boy, this is going to be fun down the stretch. But I think when we really dive into it, there's going to be quite a number of these where it's 4 or 5 teams are in that final week and a half stretch where conference is up for grabs. So that's what we got next week. Great interview with Coach Reinhart again tonight. If you can, head over to the Midwest Players Classic at the Lacrosse Center this Friday, Saturday. 16 games. They're going to be great. 15 games? 15.
9 and 6?
Yeah.
So that, yeah.
15 games. It's the Luke Holman Classic, Memorial Classic in Brookfield Central is another great event if you have the opportunity to get to out on Saturday. But as always, get out to the game. Go sit in the stands, get a popcorn, get a soda. If you're at Richland Center, get one of the big cookies because they're delicious. They are. I don't know where they get them. I think it's just something through the school system. But oh boy.
I just can't get into I don't know. I just can't get into the popcorn and like all that kind of stuff. Like I am such a sweet tooth. It's crazy. Like give me a Diet Dew and like a bag of Skittles and I can sit there forever.
Coach Smith, when you come to Richland Center, get one of the cookies, though. I'm telling you. I repped a youth tournament there last weekend, and my wife texted me and said, see if they have the cookies at the concession stand and bring me a couple home. They did not have them, unfortunately, but that was the only thing she cared about.
Those are only school-sponsored events. Off topic, ISU was selling walking tacos at the game on Saturday, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this brings me back to every youth basketball tournament eating walking tacos and puppy chow between each game.
Probably would have been the most expensive walking taco you've ever purchased, though, if you got that.
Worth it. As always, thanks everyone for listening. This is the Baseline Banter. Sign us off.
Travis, you got to do it because you said mine was weak, so, you know.
Get on the baseline. Let's go.